God eftermiddag derude. Så har klokken rundet 15:30, og det er mig en glæde at byde velkommen til det webinar, hvor vi her i Dansk Erhverv gerne vil gøre jer klogere på, vores medlemmer her, på e-eksport til Latinamerika. Jeg vil lige starte præsentationen her på dansk, men jeg vil jo lige sige, at Christy sidder i New York lige pt., og det er hende, der kommer til at præsentere efterfølgende, og det bliver på engelsk. Jeg hedder Jens, jeg er konsulent i Dansk Erhverv Digital Handel, og med mig på sidelinjen, der har jeg Asger, som sidder med teknikken. Så hvis I har nogle udfordringer med lyd eller billede, så skriv gerne lige ud i chatten, så klarer han det. Der står allerede lidt nu omkring lyd. Og apropos chat, så vil jeg gerne lige sende et link ind med det samme, som går ind og omhandler lidt af vores emne i dag, altså omkring e-eksport. Vi har et helt e-eksport-univers liggende på Dansk Erhvervs hjemmeside med guides og tips og tricks og analyser og andet, som I kan bruge i forhold til at validere jeres e-eksportrejse til givne markeder. I er velkomne til at stille spørgsmål undervejs her i chatten, og så stiller jeg dem på jeres vegne. Jeg er blevet enig med Christy om, at vi tager spørgsmålene løbende, så stil endelig alle de spørgsmål, I har, og så tager vi dem bare løbende, og så håber på den måde at få en god dialog fremadrettet. Vi sender et evalueringsskema ud efterfølgende, hvor vi kraftigt opfordrer til, at I udfylder, således at vi kan få noget feedback fra jer af, om sådanne webinar som dem her er noget, vi også skal prioritere fremadrettet. Hvad er det, vi har programmet i dag? Jamen altså, overskriften siger jo det meste, eksport til Latinamerika. Og lad mig bare lige sådan hurtigt nogle enkelte nedslagspunkter. Altså alene i Brasilien, der vurderer man, at ca. 20% af befolkningen, ud af en befolkning på 210 millioner mennesker, har en større købekraft end den gennemsnitlige danske forbruger. Det er altså 42 millioner forbrugere alene i Brasilien, som har større købekraft end den gennemsnitlige dansker. Derfor tænker vi jo i hvert fald, at det kunne være mere end, kan man sige, normalt attraktivt at begynde at ekspandere og eksportere til lige præcis Latinamerika. Men for at man kan komme i gang med sådan en rejse, jamen så er der selvfølgelig en masse forberedelser, man skal have gjort sig, og derfor har vi blandt andet inviteret Christy fra firmaet Skype Postal her i studiet, ja, hun sidder så i New York, der gør os klogere på det her. Og så vil jeg lige skifte over til engelsk. So Christy, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, great. So we'll transfer to English now, and if you take control of the presentation, I think you take it from here, and hopefully we'll have a good session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jens, for the introduction. I'm excited, everybody. Thank you guys for joining this presentation on expanding your business to Latin America. We will cover the market projection, sort of how the market works, the different ways to get into this. I'm extremely passionate about teaching everybody how to get into this untapped market. A little bit about me. I'm Christy Rue. I'm the Vice President of Skype Postal. My background includes retail, marketplaces, so I understand retailers, I understand sellers. I have now a cross-border background as well for the last 4 years, understanding Latin America, the Caribbean, and how to sell products there. My focus is really helping sellers thrive in today's $200+ billion e-commerce landscape. Little fun fact about me, and I know in Europe it's big, I'm actually an avid equestrian. I've been competing in events since I was a kid. So one day would love to go over there and see some of the stuff over there. A little bit about the market. Before I start too, please, if anybody has questions, feel free to stop and ask questions along the way. I will be monitoring them, and it's easy to stop and answer them. I know sometimes you forget what they are as we go along, so feel free to ask anything as we are going through this. A little bit about the market. So as I said, in 2024, the market did about $194 billion in e-commerce. By 2028, it's projected to hit $270 billion. It's one of the fastest growing e-commerce marketplaces out there right now. While China's e-commerce marketplace is highly competitive, Latin America offers a far less crowded playing field with the significant double-digit growth potential year over year for the next few years. With that said, just so you know, less than 5% of sellers selling on these marketplaces are actually cross-border sellers. So the opportunity to get in now, get your seller reputation made and high is really good for you. And most of these marketplaces, their SEO actually looks at seller reputation. So getting that built up now will actually help your products in search results, not just having to do sponsored ads. So that's exciting. The other thing is they have really high internet penetration within Latin America, coupled with the increasing smartphone usage is what's driving this. And in fact, in Brazil alone, over 150 million people are spending over 3 hours a day engaging in social media globally. So there's a ton of growth and a ton of e-commerce, social media activity going on, which is part of how I'll go into how to help increase your market share and sell. Key platforms. So in the United States, there's really just 3 key platforms: Amazon, eBay, maybe Walmart. I know in Europe it's a bit more fragmented, but not quite the way it is in Latin America. In Latin America, it's very fragmented. There are about 15 different marketplaces, from Amazon Libre, Amazon, Mercado Libre, Magalu, Linio, Carrefour, Shopee, Walmart, Americanas, and the list just goes on. So there's so many different marketplaces. It does make it harder to decide where to go, how to do it, where to jump on first. Mercado Libre is definitely the biggest one, and there's very little overlap between Amazon and Mercado Libre. So it's definitely one of the top ones to join. The other one is Amazon. So Brazil and Mexico are the 2 leading countries within Latin America. They make up the biggest portion of Latin America's sales. And Amazon is actually very strongly recognized within those 2 countries. And Sky Postal is actually a preferred partner, shipping partner of Amazon Brazil, specifically because there's this Remessa Conforme program within Amazon Brazil, or within Brazil. It's a government program that allows for faster customs clearance, less documentation, which is always a plus, and less duties and taxes for customers to pay. And it's significantly less duties and taxes for lower priced items. Now, for somebody to be able to utilize the Remessa Conforme program, otherwise known as the PRC program, which you may hear, both the checkout component on the website, which is, it's a little gray area, but there are providers out there, which I have contacts for, that if you wanted to launch in some of these countries and wanted to be part of this PRC program, you would need an entity, and the checkout actually has to be part of the entity. So you can actually utilize a software provider's checkout, and they are the entity and they are PRC approved. And then the shipper has to be PRC approved. And Sky Postal is PRC approved as a shipper. So you could actually do this with your own website as well and get some of these amazing benefits. Again, it's lower duties, it's less documentation, and it's faster clearance time. And it does make a significant difference.
Christy, may I ask, is this only for the marketplaces, or, as you say, also if I have my own dedicated website and I want to sell to these markets directly?
Yes, so the PRC program, so Amazon Brazil is a part of the PRC program, Sky Postal is. So together we are part of the PRC program. But if you wanted to turn on your own website, the checkout has to have an entity and has to have been approved for the PRC program. There's software providers out there that have this capability, so you could utilize their checkout, and that company has an entity in Brazil, has the Brazil tax ID number, all of that. So they take care of all the qualifications, and they've been approved for the PRC program already. And then you would need an approved shipper like Sky Postal. So you can do that. There are ways to do that. And you can, if you have an entity in Brazil, get approved as well, but you would need to have an entity. So a lot of people are going sort of this third party route, whereas they let this software provider be the checkout for their Brazil platform. And then they're able to take advantage of this PRC program. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yep. Logistics wise, so Sky Postal actually can handle all of your shipping. So from Europe all the way through to Latin America, we can make it cost effective. We can help manage the tracking. So it's not going from one logistics partner to another. And, where does it, if it gets lost, who lost it, where to go, where are the tracking numbers, which tracking is, am I supposed to be using yet now? So you'd actually be able to use our tracking system, which is synced up with all of our providers in every country all the way throughout, and it keeps it all the way simplified. We actually do over 96% delivery rate in Latin America, which is extremely high because obviously you can't just drop a package at somebody's door there. We ship for Amazon, Temu, Alibaba, and so many others out there. And like I said, we can streamline the process when it comes to Brazil and this PRC program, or just Brazil in general, because Brazil is probably the most logistically challenging country to get into. So when we go to market entry, so I'm assuming most of you guys are selling in the United States and or Canada. So why not Latin America? Mexico borders the United States on its southern side, so if you're selling into Canada, you're selling up to the US's northern side. So why not sell into Latin America as well? It's really not that difficult. And there's so much opportunity out there. There are several different ways to go about getting into the market. One is leveraging your own website. So, most of the time Google will translate your website for you. So in reality, you don't have to do a lot of translations there. When I launched a marketplace for the Caribbean, Central, and South America, we turned on our meta catalog and we saw a positive return on investment in 3 weeks. So if you have a team handling your meta and you turn on your catalog and you push social media content, then that's really going to help drive your sales. Social media and just advertising in general in Latin America is very much less expensive than it is in the United States. Even doing sponsored ads on the marketplace is a lot cheaper than it is in the United States. But social selling is very high in Latin America. So that's one easy way to turn on your website. You do have to watch out for some of the regulations within the countries, like needing a tax ID there, stuff like that. But as I said, there are ways to get about that. If you utilize a checkout from a company that does have the entities within those countries, and I do have connections for that. And the other way would be to directly integrate with the marketplace. There you do not need a tax ID. Your US tax ID or your Europe tax ID is just fine. So you're okay on that. They do all the translations for you. They do the currency conversion. Everything is taken care of for you there. So it's very simple to especially with Amazon. Amazon makes it really simple to turn on your catalog to Amazon Mexico, Amazon Brazil. So if you're looking for the simplest way to get started, I would say Amazon Mexico, Amazon Brazil are probably the two easiest if you're already selling on Amazon. You do, though, have to do things like sponsored ads. You can't just turn on your products and then expect them to sell. So it is like all the other countries where you do need to actually work the marketplace and your catalog within the marketplace to make sure the items are going to get views and visits. The last one is to partner with what I call a seller aggregator. There's no real, I don't think, name out there for them yet. The original one out there is Knock Knock, and there's new ones coming out there. So what they do is they are a seller on these 15 different marketplaces with these that go to the 650 million population of people in Latin America. And you put your items into their seller portal and they do all the rest. So they sparse it out to their different marketplaces. They do the marketing. They take care of the shipping. In some cases require you to have a shipping partner with us. Some of them do it on their own. And actually Knock Knock is our customer. There's other ones out there though, and that I can pass along. There's two more out there right now and a third one coming along. So it's really trying to take these different scenarios and give you options and not just have one option. Because sometimes I feel like one option makes that one option seem bigger than they are. And then, so we have a question. We have 200 active listings on Amazon FBA in the US. Are you saying there are no requirements on the sales tax credit if I make them available on Amazon Mexico? Correct. Amazon Mexico will take care, and Amazon Brazil will take care of charging the taxes and duties in Mexico and Brazil for you. They will charge the customer. If you're using Amazon Mexico and Amazon Brazil, not if you're going into the country and just sending it to the country as deliverable. So, but if you're actually going and publishing the items, which is, from my understanding, it's very easy to do, is to push the items onto Amazon Mexico and Amazon Brazil. They take care of charging the customer on the duties and taxes. They also will only let you sell what you're allowed to sell in those countries. So they'll take care of the regulations and all of that stuff. So like, you're not allowed to sell shoes in Mexico as of December. So shoes won't even let you push shoes. It'll air out. So it also takes a little bit of onus of what can I sell, what can't I sell. We do have regulations though, on what you can and cannot sell if on Sky Postal's website. But do we have filing obligations? You would file these sales as a U.S. sale, basically. So the cross-border sale, Amazon's basically becoming the seller of record in Mexico. You're the seller of record in the U.S. and they're taking over the sale into Mexico. So for you, it's just a U.S. filing. It isn't a export, basically, sale. So it's very simple for you. I hope that perfect. So I really urge those that have FBA, FBM items to really turn on Amazon in Mexico. Like I said, it's very simple to do. If you're an FBM seller, I can take care of all the shipping for you. If you're FBA, Amazon can do it for you as well. So it's very simple. And I really think it's a great way to start, but I do encourage you guys to utilize the sponsored ads to push the products. Return rates. I get asked this a lot, and I understand because the return rates in the US are sky high, and I am a huge part of that problem. And I would say it's a problem for us in the United States because I can buy something, and if I don't like it from Amazon, I simply take it back to UPS and they scan my barcode and I don't even need a box for it. And it's gone and I have my credit, and like 10 minutes later, I get a text saying, there you go, you've been refunded. The return rates in Latin America are significantly lower. I've been at 2 different companies and I've not seen over 2% return rate. And the reason for that is because most of these customers are paying duties and taxes on these items. And it's very unlikely they're going to get a withdrawal from the country and get their duties and or taxes back. So it's highly unlikely that they're going to get their duties, taxes, or shipping back. And in some countries, like Brazil, where you're paying upwards of 60% on taxes and duties, that's a lot of money that you've paid to send an item back that you're not going to get back. So in reality, this is why the return rates tend to be so low, which is another reason why it's so easy for you to turn on your items and start selling in these countries, because the risk is low. You're just opening your door to the 650 million dollar population. And really, I mean, that's really it that I have. I do have sellers that I can give you some examples, sellers that have turned on their items in Brazil and Mexico and other areas in Latin America. I had a beauty seller who turned on his items, and in the first 3 months, he was getting 2,000 orders a month. Incremental. So this is incremental to his US. So it's definitely, can be significant depending on which categories you're in. And in reality, some of the top categories, electronics, small electronics, so smartphones, laptops, gaming consoles, are always huge in all countries, in Latin America, the Caribbean, everywhere I've seen, including the US. Fashion is big. Home goods like kitchen appliances, like small kitchen appliances, not big ones. Home decor, stuff like that. Beauty and personal care, makeup, skincare, hair care, supplements are extremely large. Some countries don't allow supplements, like Argentina, but a lot of countries do, like Brazil. Supplements are huge in Brazil. Um, Auto parts are really big as well. It, you know, even with the challenging environment of having to choose the right auto part for your right car, it's still a huge industry within there. Toys and games, um, and baby products. So, and I asked a friend in Brazil who was living in Brazil, why are baby products so big? Why do you guys want baby products from the States? Like, I'm sure that, you know, I was like, I'm sure you still have baby products available for sale in Brazil. And the reason why is, in the States, we have very prominent rules and regulations among toys and baby products, you know, that they have to be approved and regulated. Those regulations are not the same in Brazil. So a lot of these, and many of the other countries, which is why a lot of these countries want to buy these types of products from the States, because they feel they're safer, they're made better, higher quality. You know, their child is less likely to get hurt or have something bad happen to them. So this is part of why a lot of these things are highly sought after from the state side. Can you elaborate a bit on the difference between selling on Mercado Libre and Amazon? We are actively selling ourselves on Amazon through FBA, but are looking into Mercado Libre and considering how to approach this. So like I said, one of the ways there are two different ways to sell on to Mercado Libre. One is to sign up yourself. They have a sort of a sign up, but you have to be approved. It's like and it's a bit of a slow process. They do sort of vet their sellers very, very highly. But you can get approved, and once you are, it's very similar to selling on Amazon. You can do an API, or you can direct upload your items through an XML sheet, CSV sheet, download your orders, you know, stuff like that. It's very similar. You don't need, because Mercado Libre is like Amazon, even though they're not in the States, you don't need to have tax identities within all the countries. Your US tax identity for into Mercado Libre is okay. So it's sort of like to Amazon, you're selling to Mercado Libre. Mercado Libre will be the exporter of record. So from that approach, that's how it is. The other option is to go to sort of this seller aggregator approach, which I would say do them all. Don't just do one if you're going to do one. Like I said, there's Knock Knock, there's Current Commerce, which I have a connection with Brad and can do introductions for anybody who's interested. There's Go Advance with Ramiro, who's got his main focus is on marketplace. Brad's focus is on all the 15 different marketplaces, and there's a third one coming in into Q1, early Q2, which is going to be, I think, a really large one. I think they're going to be about the size of Knock Knock. Just so you guys understand, Knock Knock does about $30 billion a year. So they're not small. They, you know, this market is huge. It's really huge for sellers and really to get into it and understand how to drive the business. But there's, like I said, the market is very fragmented. There's about 15 different marketplaces to get on, which makes it challenging and hard to manage, unfortunately. But Amazon and Mercado Libre are the top two and would be the ones that I would say focus on to start with for sure. You see Jacob's typing. Can we operate as a brand owner but sell through a partner? Sell through a partner like Knock Knock, or sell through a partner? I think I need clarification on what you mean sell through a partner.
Christy, to elaborate a little bit about, let's say, the Danish context. In Denmark is one of the, let's say, countries in the world where the marketplaces have the lowest share. So the marketplaces are, let's just be frank, it's not very popular in Denmark. So it's the specific brand owner or shop that has an online store. So in Denmark, I think Amazon, because we don't have Amazon Denmark, we have Amazon Sweden, we have Amazon Germany, of course, and both of them sell into Denmark, but they have maybe a 2% market share. It's nothing, whereas in Germany it's 80%. So how much market share does these marketplaces in total have? And I also think maybe what Jacob is thinking about, can we somehow avoid those? Because I mean, in a Danish context, we try to own as much as the process ourselves, and of course also the profits and all that, you know. So how can I as a Danish brand owner, avoid maybe not the correct word, but you know what I mean. So I sell directly, and how do I do that? And also, how do I need this physical entity in the specific market? Can you help us? Can somebody else help us? And so on. So what, try to think into that context.
Yeah, so Mercado Libre is actually about 20%, and it might be slightly more, somewhere between 20 and probably a little less than 25% of e-commerce sales in Latin America. So the marketplaces are extremely big. And if I look at Amazon's probably about 10%. So between Mercado Libre and Amazon, you are probably about 35% of market share just between, those two marketplaces. So the marketplaces are very large. However, like I said, selling in Latin America, if you're pushing through social media, so your Meta catalog, TikTok, Instagram, and you're pushing things through social media, you can sell on your own website and build your own build your own store. But you do need things like checkout, because you need an entity in these countries, or you need an entity and a tax ID number from that country, or you need somebody that's controlling the checkout, and you really need to have their payment, currency. So these checkout providers can provide that. Sell through a middleman, distributor, reseller, but the owner of the brand. And site and our products are properly visible on the front end. I don't know that they have like brand pages on the websites like that. But I mean, I would assume like selling through distributor reseller, like Knock Knock, your products are visibly on the front end. So I know working with Brad on Current Commerce, Knock Knock's a little harder to work with, but I know working with Brad on Current Commerce, he would, you actually load your items with the title you want, the images you want, the descriptions you want. Knock Knock actually pulls your products from Amazon, so it's going to look like they're the Amazon content. If you want something different than the Amazon content, Brad is able to help you with that, basically. And then to make sure that they're visible on the front end, that's doing things like sponsored ads on the website. Again, it's to get visibility to products. It's just like on Amazon US, you do have to do sponsored ads to get the visibility on these marketplaces. Okay. So anybody else have any other questions? Anybody else have questions that I could answer?
Maybe again, me, Christy, I hope it's okay. Some of the questions that we have received here in the Danish Chamber of Commerce is mainly focused on, let's say, the registration part. As you say, the checkout flow has to be somehow, integrated on your own personal website. Is it due to some kind of, let's say, internal national mechanism that they need to be approved? If you understand what I mean. So that the national authorities, they somehow can check that everything is okay, or if there were, let's say, a European or even Danish payment provider who are also active in these countries, then you can just maybe like American Express or Visa, whatever, they can also do it for you, or how does it work?
No, so you can, anybody can turn on a website. You could turn on a website today to sell in Brazil, but you do need a Brazil entity and a Brazil tax ID number, which is why a lot of people are going down the route of, most of us don't have an entity in Brazil or the other Latin America countries. So that's why I said there's this like checkout component. So you can hire the software provider that has the checkout piece. That software provider has the entities and the tax ID numbers in all these different Latin America countries. So then you don't have to worry about that. They take care of the pay conversion for you. And it's your website. So it's your content, it's your pages, it's everything that you own on your website that you get to push. And then you do the social media pushing, all of that stuff yourself.
Okay, so yeah, kind of a shortcut. So yeah. So it's like you what you call legal entity for hire or something. You pay these payment providers to take care of all the legal issues for that specific country.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, it's not hard to get a tax ID number in these. I mean, it's just like the U.S. You kind of just send in an address and all this stuff, and bam, you've got one. The entity, though, thing is a little bit more challenging because they do require, like that you are down there. So that is a little more challenging. But it's from that aspect, there are ways to get around it, like this checkout provider that people have came up with. It's kind of a gray area, but none of the countries have considered it null and void to say. So.
No, okay, thank you. Regarding these, let's say, specific, let's say, country traditions or again legal laws. You said something about it's not allowed to sell shoes in Mexico in I think it was in December. How can I, as a Danish brand, get all this knowledge? Because again, many of the questions we have, just to be frank, is basically from fashion companies who wants to sell into these markets. Whether they have shoe in their assortment, I don't know, but there could be some at least some shoe manufacturers that would look into to Latin America for sure.
Yeah, so there's definitely restricted items by country lists out there. We have them. Ours isn't updated with the latest on the Mexico with shoes, unfortunately. But I can just drop it in the chat here. But it does give you, the shoes thing is just, I mean, it's just, we kind of find it very funny and very surprising when it came down to it, honestly. Generally, in general, though, most fashion is acceptable everywhere. It's things like supplements, that kind of stuff that gets a little more challenging as to which countries you can sell it into. Those that you can sell it into, it's extremely lucrative, but not all countries allow supplements. So, and I can send this in an email to anybody who's interested as well and have more conversations. But there definitely are things, obviously like cigarettes and stuff like that, perishable foods, medical equipment. Most of the stuff, it's weapons that look like toys, or toys that look like weapons. Sorry, stuff like that. I mean, it's most of the stuff that most marketplaces won't let you sell anyways, except for the few countries, like I said, that don't allow like certain health products, and then Mexico with this odd shoe thing.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
So I don't see any more questions in the chat. Just you say you operate from all European countries, so you also operate from Denmark. So a Danish company can make an agreement with the Sky Postal, and you take care of the shipment all the way.
Yeah, we do. We have partners within all across in Denmark, Europe, that we partner with. So if you're looking to have a shipping partner, that's to either even get it to the United States or to get it from to drop shipping, to Latin America, we're here. We can assist you with all of that stuff. And like I said, I think this is a huge market potential for sellers. It's under tapped right now. The time is to get in now while it's starting to grow at double digits over the next few years before everybody else gets in. Get your store reputation built up, your items with high reviews so they start ranking naturally within SEO on some of these marketplaces, and in Google, throughout if you're doing your own website, etc.
Okay, great. And how do they? So they contact you basically afterwards, and you also have some kind of let's say business case run through so that they can contact you, without signing contract, but just to run through the business case and so to see whether this makes sense or not.
Actually, and working with Skyposta, we don't really require. We have an agreement, but it's not an agreement that locks you into using us for any specific time. It's basically that if you ship with us, you're going to pay us for that shipping.
Okay, cool.
There's no monthly fees. There's nothing like that. All we charge is for the actual, shipping of products and the services that we provide. We don't charge anything else on top of it. We try to keep everything as simple as possible. Hence, and our services, because we've been doing this for over 50 years, and especially within Latin America, we have all of these. We have entities in all of these countries, and we have offices, and we've got employees that have worked with us for years. Our employee that runs our Brazil office has been with us for 35 years. So she has great relationships with customs and everybody within the Brazil community. So it makes it easier to, when things are getting held up, for her to help get answers, all of that stuff. And we built that out through our top 9 countries, which allows us to utilize the local services, give you the same level of service, yet as a DHL or FedEx, but up to 30 to 40% cheaper than those guys. So, which is why Amazon, Alibaba, Temu, Ascendiant, Landmark Global, and so many others utilize our services.
Okay, great. Thank you. So still no more questions. So in respect for people's time, I think we'll close down the webinar. Is it okay, Christy? I just changed to Danish.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, great. Så jamen, tusind tak til alle sammen, der kiggede med i dag og fik lidt værdifuld viden i forhold til eksport til Latinamerika. Jeg er i hvert fald blevet klogere, og der er også kommet en masse nye spørgsmål. Jeg tænker lige, det skal lige bundfalde sig lidt det her, og så kommer der sikkert en masse spørgsmål efterfølgende. Og dem er I selvfølgelig også velkommen til at sende direkte til mig, og så skal jeg prøve at se, hvad jeg kan gøre for at hjælpe jer videre. Husk, at vi sender denne her evalueringsmail ud, som I bedes udfylde, således at vi kan få noget feedback fra jer, og selvfølgelig finde ud af, hvad vi skal fokusere på fremadrettet. Og det er også en opfordring til jer, altså har I nogle spørgsmål derude, nogle markeder, vi skal se på, nogle nye måder at gøre tingene på, jamen så ræk endelig ud. Vi sidder for jeres skyld, så vi vil gøre, hvad vi kan for at hjælpe jer fremadrettet. Jeg tænker, at vi siger tak for nu, så på vegne af mig selv og Christy og Asger ude i teknikken, så siger vi tak for nu. Og ja, Jakob, jeg skal nok sende kontaktoplysninger på Christy med i evalueringsmailen, så I kan tage fat i hende direkte. Jamen, tak for nu, og tak for i dag, og fortsat god dag derude.